Hello everybody, welcome back to Flames Pyro Art for Beginners. Wanted to do a little brief tutorial today on dogs or cats or any animal's ears, as they are a magical thing we can create with our pyrography pens. Now, with all dogs and cats, they have what I like to call the main trunk of the ear. They have the main trunk on both sides of the animal, and then they have the wisp ear offside. So to create the main trunk, I'm using like a large spade shader with a pointed tip, and I've got my heat setting at just under 4, so I'm burning quite hot. It's a medium heat for this size of pen. Obviously, if I was using a smaller pen, this would be a very high heat. But what you want to do is capture the trunk of the ear before it augers off into the inside of the ear and the fur. So move your strokes in the direction that the fur would be travelling, which obviously will be up the ear. You get a feel depending on how big or small the animal is, and how big the trunk of the ear is that you need to make. I found this large spade shader to be quite handy for this sort of job. So if you have one of these pens in your arsenal, I would definitely give it a try for this type of work. Obviously then we go off to the top of the ear, which has always got like a thick darker area to it, but we'll encroach on that slowly. Build up the branch first. Now what we want to do with ears is, obviously they're not flat, they have depth inside them, which I haven't finished yet. That darkening has all got to be put to one tone. But we can create the main trunk of the ear just by layering up. With pyrography, we don't burn on the surface of the wood. We're looking to burn deeper, much like the tattoo artist would. It doesn't ink just the top layer of your skin, does it? Otherwise it'd wash off within a few weeks. They push the ink deeper into the skin, and that's what we do with pyrography. We look to push the heat deeper past the surface of the wood. I'm using a piece of birch ply here, supplied by Oak Crafts, one of the premier stockists of pyrography blanks in the UK. Check them out at oakcrafts.co.uk. They have some amazing new ply that allows you to go into even greater detail. Which I'm looking forward to starting the next piece I'm working on a piece of the new ply that they've sent me. So also with, when you get to like say a dog here, at this part of the ear at the bottom where it meets the head, you're going to get a lot of longer hairs that group up and tuft around the ear. They're not all coming from the base, it can be from different heights, but if you just add them in, it gives a little bit more like depth, as if here's something in front and then here's the trunk of the ear, you know, slowly going back deeper to another level behind this fur we've put in front. So I've roughly marked out, I can see a line where I chose to go to, which is just around to this point. So all my strokes are moving upwards in the direction that the fur would be travelling. It's no good if you're trying to show a trunk of hair going up that way, it's no good burning sideways or down. You need to follow the direction of the fur. That's one of the secrets to pyrography, to creating realism, is always follow the direction of the fur, and you can't go wrong. Now once we get to a certain point of the trunk of the ear, the hair is going to start to move in direction slightly. You're going to get some hair that's going to go sort of like straight up the trunk, and then hair that is travelling off round the corner. So there's going to be, you know, it's not going to be like as if it's being clipped by a pair of scissors. You know, you are going to maybe get the odd little tuft of hair that wraps off round. So don't be afraid to just experiment with adding the odd, say, longer hair. And basically what you want to do on this far edge is go that little step darker. This needs to be all leveled out up here. Now because I know I'm wrapping round the of this wolf, I'm starting to just flick some ever so small hairs that are going round, and this will create the main trunk of the ear. Now also on the inside parts of this trunk, I'm going to have some hairs that are moving in. you know, we don't need to go wild with really long hairs, depending on obviously what the animal is and what your subject matter is. Some of them may have really long hairs going, but I very much doubt it. And then in here, in behind those flicks of hair, if you can get in between them, or behind them, try and make it a little bit darker. You could also use like a micro skew for this type of work, or even like very fine writing tips. I have a modified writing pen by the Optima range, which is pretty good for creating fur. As I want to darken this trunk up and make it look as three-dimensional as possible. If you think about it as well, in real life, any dog or cat is not going to have just one layer of fur going up the ear. You know, there's going to be multiple in there. It's going to have loads of like layers of fur, especially the wolf who lives in Alaska and Siberia and stuff, you know, the cold areas. He's going to have a good thick coat. Then when we get to the top of the ear, the hair is changing direction now. It's changing into this angle. It's going straight up but slightly on an angle. So there is no rush whatsoever. Just add your small flicks just while you start to see the, you know, the image come to life in your mind's eye. That's what we're looking to do when we create an art, is hopefully after you've been staring at an image or working on an image for some time, you'll begin to see, you know, how you want the body to look, how you want the fur to look. But as we know, the ear does like dip in, because obviously it's like a bowl, isn't it, really, an ear shape. I mean, there's a lot of white fur on this ear that I'll have to incorporate, which I won't show you on this video because that will take a bit too long. Then when we get to the, say, the base of this top point, we want to go that step darker, so we show that we're actually going inwards. You know, we're starting on the high point and it's travelling down and then it's stepping off down into the ear. And it's beginning to show me here that the light fur, I can almost start to see it in my mind's eye. This is what we call layering. And to create realism requires some patience, you know, to build, like, say, a realistic looking dog or cat or whatever. I'd be looking at like anything up to like 2 weeks. So obviously not 8-9 hour sittings, because you can't do that, because sometimes you will just burn yourself out and all of a sudden you just can't see anymore. You begin to tire mentally, and you know it's time to stop once you start losing the feel for what you're doing. But we know this, there's the main trunk, this is the offside, and the offside is always thinner. It's the more wispy hair. So we don't want to put too much down on the far side of the ear at this time, because I've got a hole in the fur here, and there's all sorts of white hair. Well, this is just a little basic look at how we start to create realistic looking dog's ears. And these main trunks, the trunks will be here and here, always on the inside parts of the dog or cat, and the outside part will be more fluffier, thinner textured. And if you look at your own dog or cat at home, you will see the exact thing that I'm explaining to you here. The main trunk that comes off the skull goes up, and then this side is all thinner hair. And depending on how dark you want to go is how long you spend layering up. But that is an introduction to creating the main trunks of an animal's ear. We can then start seeing the depth as it goes in. I mean, like I said, this wolf had so much white hair on this ear that it's something I'm going to have to study. But I need to get all this darkness that goes back inside the ear, all the same shading. If it's off in the dark area where there is no light, then try and get all your shading at the same even tone. And I can see tonal differences in this, so I will spend the time and get all that tone to be the same shade. and then I will build my white hair gradually from there. Okay, so I hope this little look into how we create animals' ears has hopefully helped you just to understand the basics of what we're doing, what we're trying to create, you know, how we're trying to show the fur go up and the thickness of it, because we don't want it to look flat and, you know, no pop to the animal. We want to try and create more dimension, more depth, more realism. That is the ultimate goal with our pyrography art, is to show realism. So for more tips and tricks of how to with pyrography, if there's certain things that you struggle with, leave me a comment and I shall do a video for you. Equally, you can find our Facebook group, which is called Pyrography for Beginners and Beyond by Flames Pyro Art. There you will be able to message me direct through Messenger, and if there's any part of pyrography that you're struggling with, you can send me a message and I will more than happily try and do an instruction video or a tutorial video to try and help you out. I'm all about knowledge sharing. I don't charge for knowledge sharing. I believe knowledge sharing is a blessing, not something that I would feel comfortable prospering off new wood burners. So it's free, it always will be, and together we can make some really amazing pyrography art. Okay, so I hope that helped. Let's leave any comments, any questions. Even if you're not subscribed, smash the subscribe button. We have a new tutorial series coming up on an American eagle soon, so that's going to be a really fun adventure, which is starting in a week or two, where I will put the image up in the days prior to starting the videos, and I will do plenty of tutorials to try and help you to create the eagle with as much realism as you possibly can. Okay, so take care everybody, happy pyroing, and I will see you in the next adventure. Bye for now.
Good day, wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Yo, set your affirmations, aspirations. I got shit to do, the aftermath of preparation. Good food, good mood, blood in circulation. One step at a time, yeah, that's how you make it. Set a goal you control and the steps you take them. I try to pick one thought, have some concentration, and if I make a mistake, it's called education. I try to do this every day, call it replication. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day.